Hello there, crafters. My name is Amanda Farlinger with From Where I Stamp, and I'm near Kingston, Ontario in Canada. July is World Watercolor Month, and a great way to celebrate is to create a card using a watercolor technique called watercolor wash. And I'll show you how to create the watercolor background, then how to use the Stamparatus with a background stamp, then finish off the piece with some highlights using the Wink of Stella. So to add some glitter to your card. Before we start creating, I wanted to make sure you know that I share videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays on YouTube. So hit subscribe to get notified when my next video goes live. There will also be, or there also is, a blog post that pairs with this video. The link is in the description below this video, and it has pictures of the projects I've made today, or the project I've made today, along with the supply list. If you live in Canada and would like to order any of the supplies, I so appreciate it when you select me to be your demonstrator. So we are getting started with some watercolor wash. So I have all the pieces laid out here. So we have some clear blocks that have some ink and water on them. I have a little goblet of water, my Simply Chamois, the Stamparatus Deluxe Foam Mat, 3 colors. We have Gorgeous Grape, Fresh Freesia, and Pool Party. We have the 3 water painters, and then we have a piece of the Fluid 100 watercolor paper. It's hard to tell with this camera, but it does have a texture and it's fairly thick. Watercolor paper is the best to use with this. So to start, you want some color on your clear blocks, and I'm using clear blocks because not only are they, I have enough of that, not only are they handy, but they clean really well with the Simply Chamois. Maybe another little drop. And you don't need a lot of ink, so just a couple drops there is just fine. We'll move those inks off to the side. Now we have 3 water painters that are in the annual catalog. So those are the 3 sizes. So we are going to use the larger one. Now my larger one, well, I guess I should say why we call them water painters is, can you see the water? There's some water in there. So when you get some ink on the end, to get rid of it, you would just squeeze. See how the water comes out? So my larger one doesn't work as well. So I'm going to use this one, and you want to add a couple drops of water to each of the colors. Now I already did that to the Gorgeous Grape earlier. Okay, so this larger one, I'm going to dip it in here just to give it some extra water. I find that you need to, if you want the colors to blend really well, you do need to go a little bit quick. So we're going to go like this, and you might need to add a little bit of water on top, or you might have to add some extra color. And then you can use the Simply Chamois. I'm using the back side. The other side is usually really, really dark. So I felt that this side would be better. And why you want to work quickly is so that when it doesn't dry between. So that way you're getting the colors mixed in. And you can take a little bit of just some water to get those two mixed together. And the Simply Chamois, you can use it to pull some water off of your paintbrush or your water painter. So now we're going to do some Pool Party here at the bottom, and this is where your hands will get a little inky. And more water is sometimes a good thing. So you just start. Now, I'm not going to add too much water. And I'm also going to take a little bit off with my water painter, because we do want to make sure that I can dry this so that we can finish the card. So we're going to slide those up there. Slide this over here because I don't need the water. I'm going to flip this over because we're going to use it for stamping. So then we have this watercolor piece. Now I'm going to set this off to the side for a moment, clean up my deluxe foam mat. So a tip for you, the Fluid 100 paper I store in a stamp case, and this, it comes 5x7 sheets. So I've cut this down to, so this one is 3x4 1/4 is the size. And of course I had some extra little pieces and I keep those in here. And one reason you might want to keep some pieces is to do some test strips. So here's one of the strips I did earlier to figure out if I wanted to go like how much ink to add or how much water to add to kind of get this look. So you may want to keep your pieces so that way you can do some testing. And I might try something with this. I'll hang on to it for now. But if it goes in the garbage, I didn't really have much of a plan for it anyhow. So we're going to use the heat tool. This is an older one, and I'm going to heat this up. So I'm going to make a little bit of noise. I'm going to flip it over. You want to be very careful of your hands with the heat tool. So that's fairly dry now. You could let it sit and dry on its own. That wouldn't be a problem. Now, next up, I said if we were going to do watercolor background and then use the Stamparatus with a background stamp to stamp onto this watercolored background. So we have our first step done. And just a reminder that there's links to, or sorry, there's a supply list down below with links to my online store. So if you're in Canada, then you can place an order with me. And if you're not in Canada, make sure to hit subscribe and keep up to date with what videos I'm sharing. Now, with the Stamparatus, put it in frame here for you. This is a magnetic platform, and it has some plates that are on hinges. Then this is the background stamp. It's the Butterfly Brilliance stamp set. I love the stamp set. And you might notice there's some lines in here. I've cut mine apart. So it's one big stamp. So I've already put it on because it's a puzzle to put it on as one piece. And because this here is bigger than my watercolor paper, I came up with a neat little thing you can do. So a 3x3 Post-it note with the sticky side up. So it can stick onto my piece here, and then putting the magnet on the Post-it note. So that way, I'm going to ink this up in a minute, but that way my magnet doesn't get hit with the stamp, so I don't damage my stamp, and I can stamp the whole thing all in one go. Now, we have two blacks, StazOn and Memento. I'm going to use Memento for this case because I'm going to add a little bit of watercolor on top, but not too much. If you're going to do some really good watercoloring, I would stick with the StazOn, but then you need the StazOn cleaner because it's it will stick to your stamps unless you use that cleaner. Whereas Memento, it's water-based, so if you put too much watercolor on it, it will pick up the black and wreck the lines. So we just want to smush down some black to cover all those butterflies. We don't have to worry about our base thing getting black on it because it's washable. You could put some paper, or I think there is grid paper for it. Now, watercolor paper is thicker and can take a little bit more ink when you're stamping on it. So we're going to lift up the platform. So I think it needs a little bit. It's not quite dark enough. So I'm going to ink this up again. And this is what I love about the Stamparatus. You can stamp and restamp in the same spot. As long as this part doesn't move, then you can stamp over it. So if there's a sentiment that didn't stamp all the way, then you could restamp it. Or in this case, with watercolor paper, the black ink takes a little bit longer to soak in. So there, that is a lot better. Now, I would just use, this is why I cut my Simply Chamois in half, is I would just use this and clean that all up. You don't need to watch me clean it all up. So then this here, we just pull off the Post-it note. I'm going to close this up because it's washable. Stick it over there. It'll be fine. So here is our watercolor background with the butterflies. Isn't that gorgeous? My favorite purple. I love Pool Party. I love it. Okay, now I'm going to bring these back, but I'm going to pull up these colors because I'm going to put the ink back down. So the Simply Chamois just pulls up the ink, soaks it right up, leaves a little bit of water behind, but that's okay. And we're going to put some gorgeous grape, fresh Freesia, excuse me, and some Pool Party. Then we're going to take the small, then I said we were going to do some sparkle. Now, if you wanted to use just the water painter, so if you don't have a Wink of Stella brush, Wink of Stella, which is glitter, then you can just use the smaller. So there, remember, there was 3 sizes, and we're going to use the smaller tip. So you could use it to color in the butterfly, like so. But instead, I want to use the Wink of Stella because it has sparkle. And so I'm going to pick up some Pool Party. I know it's going to be hard to see. Let's see if the camera picks it up. See the sparkle? You can kind of see the sparkle. So that's what I'm going for on this butterfly. So I wanted to make the butterfly stand out a little bit more. And if you need a little bit more Wink of Stella, you can just squeeze it and it comes down into here and it comes out the end. You don't want to squeeze it too much like I have here. And you can add some more sparkle. And we're just going to color in. This is like fancy watercolor with sparkle. And then we can use this sparkle on the other colors as well. So the black is still okay. There's a glare. It's still okay. It's a little bit wiped out, not wiped out, but washed out a little, but not too bad. So then we'll go over here to this one. And if you run an ink on your block, you can just add some more ink. Not a big deal. I have a little bit of a glare still. Let's get a little bit darker down here. There we go. So because this one goes over a couple, I'm going to do, oopsie. I'm going to do a couple things here. One, I need to get rid of some extra sparkle. Just get the stuff back in a little bit. There we go. There, that worked. So just get some blue on there, and then we'll take our freesia and mix it in with the blue, like so. This butterfly is going to have all three colors on it, I think. So what I wanted to do with this was to make it so that the butterfly stood out a little bit more from the backdrop. I have another one where I haven't added anything to the butterflies, and I'll show that to you in just a few moments. Oh, I guess this butterfly will have all three on it as well. This one's a little bit bigger. And I find this is very relaxing. It's just filling in some spaces, adding some color. There we go. There we go. And then I have to go back to the blue. So I'm just going to clean this off on my Simply Chamois there for a moment. And I think I have enough Pool Party. Good enough. Get that all mixed in. So now we can use the Gorgeous Grape. And if we need a little bit of water just to tone down the Gorgeous Grape, we could do that. And it will look better too when this dries. But the color will be just a little bit darker. Oops, that was a little dark there at the edge. That's okay. It should be okay. And then we'll just, I forgot I had sparkle over here. Let's add some more sparkle onto this one. There, tons of sparkle. It's not really showing up on the camera. Okay. To me, I think that's good. And I'm just going to wipe this on my Simply Chamois. Hopefully I don't forever have sparkles all over my hands when I rinse out the Simply Chamois. All right. So let's see if I can show you. Oh, there we go. See that sparkle? So I was wanting those butterflies to stand out more so that Wink of Stella adds that little bit of sparkle. Next up, we want to put the card together. So we are going to use, I'm just going to clean this off a little. So we are going to use basic white, thick basic white card base. So I've already folded it in half. And we're going to use the Hues of Happiness Designer Series paper. And I think I want to use this side. At least that was the plan, was to use this side. Now I'm not so sure if I should use that side. What do you think? Drop me a comment. I know we're not live, but I think I kind of like that better. It makes the butterflies pop a bit more. All right, so I've changed my mind instead of this. So let me know if you think this one with the flowers or the one with the X's or pluses would be your first choice. So this piece of designer paper is cut to 5.5 by 4.25. So that way it covers the front of my card. So we want glue all the way around the edges. And I like to start with the open side when putting cardstock or designer series paper that covers the cardstock. I find it's easier to do it that way. And I'm just going to use the heat tool again to set this Wink of Stella. Set the ink and set the Wink of Stella a little bit, and hopefully I don't get too much everywhere. Now I put a little bit extra glue on this watercolor paper just because it got wet, and I used the heat tool on it, so to stop it from curling too much. That's the hope anyway. And then we want to stick this down. Right about there. Oops, that's crooked. I was trying not to get it crooked. There we go. Glitter! Now, we have Coastal Cabana and Memento Black because we need a sentiment. Now, before we stamp the sentiment, I wanted to remind you about Celebration. It's going on until August 31st. And this stamp set, the Amazing Phrases stamp set, is free with a $60 order. So we are going to do a little bit of stamping using that stamp set. There we go. So we have Coastal Cabana, glue on my fingers, Memento Black. We have all of that. And we have some Pool Party cardstock. I have the Hey stamp on here, and You Did It on this block. So we're going to take Hey, make sure it's nice and inked up, put it in the middle on the left, so middle, top, and bottom. And of course, don't forget to clean your stamp, tap, tap, tap in the chamois. And then the You Did It, you'll notice that there's not quite enough room. So I chose a darker color for the sentiment because it's going to go over the Hey. Voila. So we have a Hey, You Did It. So you can still see the word. So that's why I didn't use black for both or Coastal Cabana for both. Better put the lid on before I get ink on me. More ink. And we want some mini dimensionals to put on the back of this. So on Thursday, I'll have another watercolor video for you because we're talking about watercoloring this week since it's World Watercolor Month. And Stampin' Up! Has some great tools that, along with the water painters, there's blender pens and water pencils or watercolor pencils. So we're going to use the watercolor pencils and the blender pens and make a project on Thursday. So we're going to put this here in the Hey, You Did It. Goes there. Awesome. Yay, we did it. We added sparkle and we added some dimension to those butterflies. So just a reminder, the supply list for this project is in the description of this video. And if you want to learn more about Celebration, celebration.fromwhereistamp.ca has all the details with the catalog links for you to download. And here is the other card. This one I've shared on Instagram. So I didn't use the Wink of Stella or the colors to focus those butterflies more. So there's the two cards. Oops. Side by side. Which one do you like over the other? Which one's your favorite? Or is it hard to pick? I think this one in my right hand, the purple one, because it's purple, is my favorite. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below. But thank you for joining me, and we'll see you on Thursday.